Dr. Myles Munroe reveals how to win every battle without losing yourself.
I want to tell you something that might save you years of unnecessary pain. Most people spend their entire lives fighting battles they were never meant to win. They exhaust themselves trying to control things that were never theirs to control in the first place. And then they wonder why they're tired, why they're frustrated, why nothing ever seems to work out the way they planned. Listen to me carefully. The secret to winning every battle isn't about becoming stronger, louder, or more aggressive. It's about understanding which battles are worth fighting and which ones you should walk away from without saying a single word. The real power in life doesn't come from dominating every situation you encounter. It comes from mastering the one thing that most people never learn to control: themselves. You see, when I was younger, I thought winning meant having the last word. I thought it meant proving I was right, showing everyone else they were wrong, making sure my voice was the loudest in every room I entered. I believed that control meant forcing circumstances to bend to my will. That strength meant never backing down, never admitting defeat, never showing any sign of weakness. And I fought. I fought hard. I fought constantly. I fought with people who mattered and people who didn't. I fought over things that were important and things that were completely meaningless. And you know what happened? I lost. Not because I wasn't capable, not because I wasn't smart enough or strong enough. I lost because I was fighting the wrong battles in the wrong way for the wrong reasons.
Not every battle is meant to be fought with strength.
The truth that nobody tells you when you're young is that most situations in life don't require you to fight at all. Most conflicts don't need your energy, your attention, or your emotional investment. Most people who challenge you aren't worth the breath it would take to respond. And most problems that seem overwhelming in the moment will resolve themselves if you simply have the discipline to step back and let them pass. But we don't learn this early. We learn it through pain. We learn it through exhaustion. We learn it after we've already wasted precious years of our lives engaging with people and situations that were never going to give us what we needed.
Some battles are won with wisdom, timing, and understanding.
Let me explain something fundamental about control. Real control isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It doesn't announce itself or demand recognition. Real control is quiet. It's calm. It's the ability to sit in the middle of chaos and remain completely unmoved. It's the capacity to watch people lose their minds around you and maintain your center. It's the discipline to observe without reacting, to listen without responding, to be provoked without being moved. And this kind of control, this deep internal mastery, is what changes everything. Because when you control yourself, you don't need to control anyone else.
Many people lose battles because they never define them.
When you master your own reactions, other people's actions become irrelevant. When you learn to govern your own emotions, external circumstances lose their power over you. I've watched people destroy themselves trying to win arguments that didn't matter. I've seen relationships fall apart because someone needed to be right more than they needed to be happy. I've witnessed careers ruined because pride wouldn't allow a simple apology. I've observed families torn apart because nobody would take the first step toward peace. And in every single case, the person who thought they were winning by standing their ground was actually losing something far more valuable than whatever they were fighting for. They were losing their peace. They were losing their energy. They were losing their time. They were losing parts of themselves that they would never get back. The battles you think you need to win right now, the situations you believe you must control, the people you feel compelled to correct or convince or conquer, most of them won't matter at all in 5 years. In fact, most of them won't matter in 5 months. But the peace you sacrifice to engage with them, the energy you drain fighting them, the mental space they occupy in your mind, that cost is real and it's permanent. Every moment you spend fighting a battle that doesn't serve your growth is a moment stolen from your actual purpose. Every ounce of energy you invest in trying to control what you cannot control is energy taken away from developing what you can.
Not every conflict is your assignment.
Here's what I've learned. The person who can walk away from a fight without feeling diminished is more powerful than the person who needs to win it. The individual who can hear an insult and choose silence is stronger than the one who must respond. The soul that can witness injustice without becoming consumed by rage is freer than the one who carries that anger like a weapon. This doesn't mean you become passive. It doesn't mean you accept disrespect or allow yourself to be mistreated. It means you develop the discernment to know the difference between a battle that will build you and a battle that will only break you down.
Every battle is decided internally before it is seen externally.
Think about water for a moment. Water doesn't fight the rock. It doesn't argue with the stone. It doesn't try to prove it's stronger, more important. Water simply flows. It finds the path of least resistance. It moves around obstacles without effort, and over time without violence, without aggression, without ever raising its voice. Water shapes the rock. It transforms the landscape. It carves canyons and creates valleys, not through force, but through consistency. Not through confrontation, but through patience. Not through control, but through adaptation. This is the kind of power I'm talking about. This is the kind of strength that actually wins. And when you understand this principle, everything changes. You stop trying to force doors that aren't meant to open. You stop exhausting yourself, pushing against walls that were built to teach you a different direction. You stop investing your energy in people who have already shown you they're not capable of receiving what you have to offer. You stop recognizing that some situations are designed to test your wisdom, not your strength. Some people are placed in your path to teach you restraint, not engagement. Some battles are presented to you simply so you can practice the art of walking away. I'm not telling you to run from every challenge. I'm not suggesting you avoid every difficult conversation or uncomfortable situation. What I'm saying is that you need to develop the intelligence to distinguish between what requires your involvement and what requires your absence.
Some battles are distractions dressed as emergencies.
You need to cultivate the awareness to recognize when your presence adds value and when it only adds fuel to a fire that benefits nobody. You need to build the discipline to choose your battles based on strategy, not emotion. Based on purpose, not pride. Based on what serves your long-term growth, not what satisfies your short-term ego. The people who truly control every situation they encounter aren't the ones who dominate through force. They're the ones who influence through presence. They're the individuals who understand that real power isn't about making others submit. It's about making yourself unshakable.
Battles driven by pride destroy people. Battles driven by purpose build destiny.
They've learned that when you're secure within yourself, when you're clear about who you are and what you value, external chaos cannot penetrate your peace. Other people's opinions cannot disturb your confidence. Temporary setbacks cannot destroy your vision, because you're not building your stability on external validation or favorable circumstances. You're building it on internal certainty. Let me tell you about a shift that happens when you reach a certain level of maturity. You stop needing to be seen. You stop needing to be heard. You stop needing to be understood by people who were never going to understand you anyway. You develop this quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth isn't up for debate. Your value isn't determined by consensus. Your truth doesn't require popular approval. And when you reach this place, something incredible happens. The battles you used to fight simply disappear. Not because the challenges go away, but because you've changed your relationship with challenge itself. You start to see conflict differently. Instead of viewing every disagreement as a threat, you see it as information. Instead of treating every criticism as an attack, you see it as data.
When your cause is right, endurance becomes possible.
Instead of perceiving every setback as failure, you see it as feedback. This shift in perspective is everything, because when you're not emotionally triggered by circumstances, you can respond strategically instead of reactively. When you're not personally wounded by opposition, you can evaluate it objectively instead of defensively. When you're not attached to being right, you can focus on being effective. The control you're searching for in external situations is actually found in internal discipline. When you control your thoughts, you control your emotions. When you control your emotions, you control your reactions. When you control your reactions, you control your outcomes. It's a chain reaction that starts from within, but most people have it backwards. They're trying to control outcomes without ever addressing the thoughts and emotions that create their reactions in the first place. They're trying to win battles in the world while losing the war within themselves.
When your cause is right, endurance becomes possible.
I remember a time when I would react to everything. Someone looked at me wrong, I had something to say. Someone disrespected me, I needed to respond. Someone questioned my decisions, I had to defend them. Someone doubted my abilities, I had to prove them wrong. I was so busy reacting that I never had time to act. I was so focused on responding to what others were doing that I couldn't focus on what I needed to be doing. And I thought I was being strong. I thought I was standing up for myself. I thought I was maintaining my dignity. But I was actually giving away my power.
Some battles are won with wisdom, timing, and understanding.
Every time I reacted, I was allowing someone else to control my emotional state. Every time I felt compelled to respond, I was proving that their opinion mattered more to me than my peace. The turning point came when I realized that most of the things I was fighting about had nothing to do with my actual goals. They weren't advancing my purpose. They weren't contributing to my growth. They weren't aligned with my values. They were just distractions disguised as battles. They were emotional traps designed to pull me off course. And every time I engaged, I was choosing the trap over the path. I was choosing the distraction over the destination. I was choosing to be right over being at peace. So I started practicing something radical. Silence. Not the silence of weakness or fear, but the silence of strength and certainty. The silence that comes from knowing that my response isn't required for my truth to be valid. The silence that understands that some people aren't asking questions because they want answers. They're asking questions because they want arguments.
When you fight with wisdom, you don't just win battles. You preserve your future.
The silence that recognizes that certain conversations are designed to drain you, not develop you. And I discovered something profound. The less I said, the more powerful I became. The less I engaged, the clearer my path became. The less I reacted, the more control I gained. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice. It's a daily choice. It's a discipline you build over time through repeated conscious decisions to respond differently than you're conditioned to respond. Every time you feel that urge to defend yourself and you choose to remain quiet, instead you're building this muscle. Every time you're provoked and you decide not to take the bait, you're strengthening this capacity. Every time you witness something that triggers you and you maintain your composure, you're developing this power.
Some battles are distractions dressed as emergencies.
And here's what most people don't understand. Your silence in the face of provocation isn't submission, it's strategy. Your stillness in the midst of chaos isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Your refusal to engage with nonsense isn't avoidance, it's awareness. You're not running from the battle, you're refusing to participate in a fight that serves no purpose. You're not afraid of confrontation. You're choosing not to waste your energy on confrontations that don't align with your objectives.
When your cause is right, endurance becomes possible.
Think about how much of your life you've spent trying to convince people who were never going to be convinced. How many hours have you invested in arguments with people who didn't actually want to understand your perspective? How much energy have you poured into proving yourself to individuals whose opinions ultimately didn't matter? How many relationships have you tried to save that were already beyond saving? How many situations have you tried to fix that weren't yours to fix in the first place? All of that time, all of that energy, all of that emotional investment, what did it produce? What did you actually gain? For most of us, the answer is nothing of lasting value. We gain temporary satisfaction, maybe. We won a few arguments, we proved some points, we had some last words, but we lost our peace in the process. We sacrificed our tranquility for the sake of being right. We traded our emotional stability for the fleeting victory of winning a battle that never needed to be fought.
If this message is strengthening you, comment, "I will win wisely" below. Let this be a declaration, not just a comment. Thank you for watching. If this message blessed you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it.